In this video, we're going to take a look at a blue ink by Noodler's, part of the Warden series, Bad Belted Kingfish. As always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the blue ink playlist, so if you wanted to see more, you could find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shading in the writing, and the extra fine, well, the extra fine looks just a hair lighter than the stub, while the medium looks about the same tone as the stub. The extra fine took 7 seconds to dry and the medium took 10. Scrubby for both gave us no color variation. We really didn't get it in the writing, and a smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a TWSBI Eco with a broad nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. The next writing sample is done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, a very minor ghosting with this thin paper. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade in the writing, and the extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub, while the medium's the same tone as the extra fine. The extra fine took 12 seconds to dry and the medium took 17. Scrubby for both gave no color variation, and there was none, and the smear test you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this is much more interesting than it would seem initially. There is the above and below where the line of ink was put down, showing that we could expect some resistance there, and it is a very blue-leaning turquoise at the bottom. Now, when we push up, we get a nice darker blue. It's definitely a different tone, and then we get that line across the top that is very reminiscent of a blue-black ink. The one on the right that's allowed to dry for 10 minutes before it's put into water, a lot of that turquoise really stayed in the line. That it's a blue-leaning turquoise. It stayed in the line and very little of it moved up. But you do see that shift from where it's very light to much darker. That's the difference of where the blue comes in. And again, we get that kind of blackish line across the top, very reminiscent of that blue-black. But I do expect this to be a very resistant ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little lighter than the medium, and the medium's a little lighter than the stub. Extra fine took 9 seconds to dry, while the medium took 13. Scrubby for both gave no color variation, and there is none in the writing. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink could be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I'm going to tell you honestly, knowing it was a Warden ink, I expected it to be good, but I wouldn't use it. Look at what's going on in the lowercase h. Now, that's revealed from the chromatography where we saw so much of that blue still moved. So I wouldn't use it in a note-taking situation. There's the short of it, in case I was dancing around. Water's reactivating and lifting some of it, but not all of it. We're seeing a lot of that turquoisey color really left there. Now, pen flush, interestingly, we get a lot of the blues and turquoise going away, but we're left with this really kind of khaki tone quite a bit. It changed the ink on the paper. And the 1/3 bleach solution did the exact same thing. Now, I know that sometimes there's a bad reputation for some of these things, but it only took water to get this out of my pen. The next writing sample is done on white lines paper. Not known for its fountain pen friendliness, what I'm circling a lot is the spots that bled very deep into but not through the paper. None of this touches the page underneath, but I do think that it stops you from being able to constructively use the back of the page. But we have no feather. No spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, no tone variation. Very consistent here. The extra fine took 4 seconds to dry while the medium took 6. Scrubby gave us no color variation and neither did the writing, and the smear test you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Noodler's Bad Belted Kingfish has a viscosity of 2.2, making it normal. If you're interested in how the viscosity tests are done, then there's a link to that video down in the description. Now, let's take a look at Apica CD notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. We get no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. Now the extra fine's the lightest tone on the page. The medium is quite a bit darker than the extra fine, and the stub is only a hair darker than the medium. Extra fine took 5 seconds to dry while the medium took 8. Scrubby for both show no color variation. We're really not getting it in the writing. It's not what you use this ink for. And the smear test, you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Noodler's Bad Belted Kingfish has an average dry time of 11 seconds, meaning it dries just a bit faster than normal. The last writing sample is done on Strathmore writing paper. No bleeding, but there is a little bit of ghosting going on. We have no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a tad lighter than the stub, and the medium's the same tone as the stub. Extra fine took 3 seconds to dry, while the medium took 4. Scrubby for both gave no color variation, and neither did the writing, and the smear test you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Noodler's Bad Belted Kingfish, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to go with a brown ink by Sailor, their Lion Light Brown. It's a pigmented ink. If you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to those playlists. So what do I think of this Warden series by Noodler's Bad Belted Kingfish? This is just a blue to me. It has the benefit of having the unique chemical code. Unique to each bottle, which might be useful for legal purposes. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? So here it's a matter of choosing a pen that really gets the most bang for the buck. A dry medium, or especially a dry fine or extra fine, is going to help that bottle of ink with its unique code last for as long as possible. If that's something that you need, then you would really want as much of those documents to match. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video, we're going to take a look at Sailor Kobe number 11.